Hey, this is Aaron,
And this is Kristin.
and this is the Drive Mode Show.
Hey, welcome everybody. We're looking forward to talking today with you. And today we have a friend question, right?
Yeah, a couple of them, but they're almost the same.
Almost exactly the same. I have a friend with two children who are under the age of 10. And her mother also lives with her most of the time, who is in her 80s. And she has a Ford Flex that she's ready to retire. And the Ford Flex, as you might remember, is a wagon type of SUV that is pretty boxy, but it's also very roomy inside. So she wants to know, what can she get to replace that Ford Flex that can accommodate her family and her mom.
Awesome. And I have a friend, awesome coincidence here. I have a friend who also has a Ford Flex, who's ready to retire that vehicle because she's had it for about 8 or 9 years, and it's pretty high mileage, and it's ready to kind of be put to pasture. And her family has changed. All of her kids are grown, so she bought it originally because she had 3 kids at home. One of them is a 7-foot basketball player, and she
Whoa.
needed space to haul them around. But now she's down to just one teenager left at home, and she wants to downsize. So, and she's at a point in her life where she probably wants to go with something a little more luxurious.
Okay.
So we're looking
7
at the
feet. I'm
same
kind of stuck
vehicle
on that
replacement.
7 foot tall.
So we're kind of looking at the same vehicle replacement, but we're diverging a little bit in need. So let's start with yours. It's interesting that she still needs to accommodate the kids. So she still needs at least 2 rows. Probably is going to want a third row for those. An occasional use third row is how we'll put that.
I would say so too. Yeah, and
cargo
she's
space.
loved that Flex. She calls it sexy flexy, which makes me laugh.
I'm actually disappointed that they discontinued the Flex. I think it's a wonderful vehicle. It's a really good design, and it fit in the same category, but much better, I think, as the say Dodge Journey. So it was a vehicle that you need a minivan, but you don't want a minivan, and so you get the crossover that is equivalent to a minivan. It has everything but the sliding doors. So it's roomy on the inside, easy to get in and out of, lots of space, lots of cargo, lots of ergonomics. And that's what the Flex was. And so for your friend, we're looking at possible 3 rows, right? What kind
Possible
of
3
suggestions
rows,
did you
yeah.
give?
Yeah, they need room for 5, and 5 comfortably. So I'm sure they wouldn't want to be. I mean, right now in the driveway, I've got a 2021 Mercedes-Benz AMG GLE 53, which technically fits 5, but it's more curved in, so it doesn't feel as roomy as the Flex, and I think they'd be missing that storage, the cargo factor.
But you can talk to the Mercedes, so you got that.
That's true. You got that going. So my first instinct was to tell her, how about a minivan? Because minivans are great for sandwich generation. It's easy for the kids to scramble in and out. It's typically easy for older people to get in and out as well. And it's got very comfortable seating, lots of options, lots of, you can use it as a cargo van. You could use it for people. You can do lots of different configurations. But she said that it's more difficult to get up to the seats because the seats are higher for her mom. So
Interesting.
yeah.
So outside of a minivan, she's going to be looking at the smaller crossovers, I think, in order to get the lower seating. You're not going to get that that I can think of. You're not going to get that in any of the larger crossover vehicles that will have a third row. So my first instinct was to recommend Subaru because Subaru tends to be lower to the ground and their seating tends to be lower. So and the Outback and the Forester both have really low entry sills, so the bottom of the door, is very low. There's not much of a hump there to step over, so they're really easy to get in and out of. But you won't have a third row there. You'd have to go up to the Ascent, and with
Right.
the Ascent, you're going to go up in seat height. So I'm not 100%
The Ascent's a
sure
little
that would
higher.
fit.
It's a good choice, though. I think, she's also interested in the Subaru, and I think it would fit her lifestyle. They live in Chicago, so they need the all-wheel drive. They're definitely going to be driving in the snow, and they drive back and forth between Illinois and Indiana, so that would be really good for them. The other option I thought of was a wagon type of vehicle, and the first ones that came to mind were the Mazda CX-9, especially in the signature trim, and also, they don't make it anymore, the Buick Tour X.
Yeah. The Tourex was great, although it's fairly small, so seating 5 would be a little bit cramped in there. Because in the end, it really was not a mid-sized car, it was more of a compact. So it is a little bit too small. But on the same vein, she could go to the Volvo and get the larger back seat and better cargo space. So you go into the V60 and you'll have a much better wagon experience. And in my mind, I think the Volvo looks better. Drives better for sure.
Well, I like the controls in the Volvo as well, and the Volvo knows who it is. I was just talking to Russell Datz from Volvo about that too, because they do some really interesting things with the crash test dummies that they use. We know Volvo to be safe. That's the kind of image that they have and they portray, and they walk the walk. They were one of the first OEMs to use a female crash test dummy because crashes are going to affect male physiology different from a female physiology. So I really like that they've considered all different kinds of people of different sizes and shapes for their crash tests. And I like the interior of the Volvo. I have to say I like the interior of the Volvo better than the Mazda in this case because I don't love that command control knob in the Mazda. But a lot of other things I do like about the Mazda CX-9.
Right. Drive quality in the Mazda is probably a little better, just in terms of if you enjoy like a sportier drive. But I agree on everything with the Volvo. It's a much better vehicle in terms of everyday use, ergonomics, and just the feel for people driving it. And then if she wants the third row, there is the XC90, but it will have higher seating, which is going to happen in almost every third row I can think of. They don't make the
Right.
station wagons with the wrong-facing rear seat anymore.
True. Now, I would tell you that the Rolls-Royce Ghost, the 2021 Ghost, is very easy to get in and out of, but only if you have that kind of money to invest.
Right.
Invest.
Right. If you got the trust
Spend.
fund.
Yeah, and the coach doors do make it easier to get in and out of because you can kind of lean on the door as you're getting out. So
Yes.
It's got that going for it.
There
Well,
are accessories. I don't think a lot of people know about this. There are accessories. There are handles you can get, so when you open your door, you have that hoop that the latch goes into, and you can put a little handle in that and help yourself up. They can also be used to step on to get to a roof rack. Those are commonly available. I don't think people think about that, but
True.
there was one more that I was thinking of as well. If budget is a big deal, then she should really probably look at the Mitsubishi Outlander. Awesome in the snow. I have not driven a vehicle that is better in the snow, just off the board, than the Outlander. Mitsubishi's all-wheel control is really, really good. And the Outlander has a usable but really occasional third row. So you can look at that, and it's, I think, a good option.
There's one more that I was thinking about earlier, and that is the Hyundai Palisade. The Hyundai Palisade is fairly low to the ground, really nice interior. I love the way it's laid out inside. It's very comfortable. I think it's plush, especially if you get it in those top trim and the calligraphy trim. And it's all-wheel drive. So I think the Hyundai
Right.
Palisade could be a good choice for them.
And if that's a little too large, the Santa Fe is also really well done. So you could step down a little bit and get into the Santa Fe and have the same kind of feel.
Good point. Now let's talk about your friend who needs to replace their Ford Flex. What are you thinking?
So she's looking more towards premium and luxury. And originally she was looking towards like Subaru but then she decided she really kind of, she's in her 40s. She's ready to kind of get a luxury vehicle. She's a, she's got, she's at a income point in her life where she can afford that and kind of wants that and hasn't ever had it before. So we talked a lot about it, and she does like domestic brands. She looked at some options for foreign brands, but she has a friend. We have a mutual friend, but she has a friend that has an Infiniti, and she really did not like it. And I think for her, it's a matter of style, and the Infiniti is just not her style. So she's looking more towards Cadillac and Lincoln for a minute, but she didn't see a Lincoln that she liked. And Lincoln is kind of at a point now where they're trying to figure themselves out. They don't know exactly what they want to do. And they only have really a couple of vehicles that people even look at. People tend to look at the Navigator, Aviator, and that's about it. They don't really look beyond that.
I do love that Aviator. The Aviator is so nice inside.
She's wanting something a little smaller than that. So we looked at the Cadillac. She likes, she doesn't want a car. She does want a crossover. She looked at the XT6, but it's a little too large. So the XT4, and she didn't know if she was going to like it because I was kind of mixed in my review. When I drove it, I thought it was a little too loud to be a Cadillac on the road. Just too much road noise. But she drove it, and she thought it was the most fun thing ever. She loved the sportiness of it. And so it's probably the one she's going to end up with. She also looked at, what was the other one? It was a BMW. And she really liked the BMW for the same reason. It was very sporty. But she didn't like the price tag. So she didn't feel like she should be spending that much money on a luxury car. And again, the Cadillac persona, I think, fits her better anyway. So that one was easy.
Did she look at a Lexus? Because those Lexus 350s are really nice inside.
She has a hang-up. She sees Lexus as old people vehicles.
Oh,
so she won't go. She wouldn't drive one.
That's interesting.
You run into people, everybody has opinions, and you run into people who they will not drive a Ford, or they will not have anything to do with a GM product, or they'll have nothing to do with Japanese cars. They'll have nothing, you meet those people and you kind of accommodate. Both of us probably get questions all the time from people, what kind of car should I buy? When really what they're asking is, can you help me justify buying that car right there? This is really what they're looking for.
This is the car I want. Is it okay? Yeah, you're right. You're right. And that's why it's so interesting, I think, when, people get in the habit of buying a particular kind of brand or a family of brands. It's so interesting to me when people switch to something totally different. People like what they know. Right.
And a vehicle's a big investment. So you don't want to go too far afield. You don't want to feel like you're taking a gamble. Because it's a lot of money. It's 5 to 7 years of payments, and it's for most people it's about a third of your house when you buy a car. So it's a lot of money. She is comfortable with GM. Her husband drives a GM truck, and so she's comfortable with the GM brand. But she has owned non-domestic vehicles, so she has owned Toyotas and stuff in the past. But yeah, she really liked that Cadillac. So in the end, it was a fairly easy one because I just gave her a list. And then when she decided she wanted a luxury, I gave her a different list. And she's not in a hurry, so she went to dealerships and just started trying them and figured out what she wanted.
Yeah, you get a feel for what you want. Once you're used to something in particular, and then you want a similar feel, something just feels right.
Unless you do what we do for a living, then you just get used to a different vehicle every week. You know, this week I went from a gigantic 3-row crossover, a big Volkswagen, down to a tiny Mazda 3.
And I've got this super luxurious Mercedes-Benz AMG GLE 53. And tomorrow I'm going to be driving the new GMC Sierra truck, which is big, but
Awesome.
the camera angles are spectacular in that vehicle. I feel like I should go out and tow something.
I've done it before, where you go from the giant truck. I had a big Ram 3500, and then that swapped out. And in the same day from driving that 3500, I went to a Volkswagen Golf. It's just like the total opposite.
Whoa!
Kind of where we're at. Mine was a little easier than yours, but we had these both just coincidentally both had friends that are looking to swap out from a Ford Flex, and the sexy Flex was a little more fun to figure out a replacement for.
Yeah, and the Subaru Ascent, I think, is near the top of her list, but I think we've given her some other ideas, and if you have a question for us and you're trying to figure out what to replace your vehicle with, we have advice. Let us know, and don't forget to subscribe.
All right, this is Aaron.
And this is Kristin.
And this is the Drive Mode Show that you're subscribing to right now. Click the bell.